America has lost one of the greatest communicators to have ever, I'm telling you, to have ever lived. There was no one like Charlie Kirk. He was able to debate with such finesse, with such manners, with such kindness, with such empathy. The left tried to villainize him and clearly succeeded with someone. Charlie Kirk, 31 years old, no longer with us today. I have had a very, very rough 24 hours or so, a little longer than that actually. Some of you saw me break down here on this show yesterday as we got the live news, and I had known Charlie a very long time. I was one of the first people to put him on TV as a regular on my show back on Fox. I said, wow, this kid is good. Was he ever? Right? Was he ever? And I'll also say, like, the influence that he had on American youth was just tremendous. My own kids, in fact, it's one thing, I told you, it's one thing when mom and dad say something, especially when mom says something. But when Charlie said it, they would listen. And they watched his videos, and they loved him. And they said to me last night, Mom, we feel like we've lost a friend. They never knew him. They may have met him once in the green room at Fox, but they didn't know him, of course, like I knew him. And I said, you're not the only ones. I think all of America, all of conservative America feels like they have lost a friend. But right now, we're in the business of trying to make sure that we see justice and that we find out just exactly who was responsible for this heinous, heinous, heinous crime. Because we need justice. And we're not going to give up. You know that, ladies and gentlemen, we're not giving up. Right now, the FBI is closing in on the assassin at large. The assassin at large that they are looking for at this moment, who somehow ran out after shooting dead America's biggest conservative star at 31 years old. Listen to the FBI here. They have photos. They're releasing the photos. They have video that they are going through every inch of what this killer did. Watch.
Through all that work last night, we were able to make a few breakthroughs. We were able to track the movements of the shooter. Starting at 11:52 a.m., this subject arrived on campus, shortly away from campus. We have tracked his movements onto the campus, through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location. After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood. Our investigators have worked through those neighborhoods, contacting anybody they can with doorbell cameras, witnesses, and have thoroughly worked through those communities, trying to identify any leads. We do have good video footage of this individual. We are not going to release that at this time. We are working through some technologies and some ways to identify this individual. If we are unsuccessful, we will reach out to you as the media and we will push that publicly to help us identify them. But we are confident in our abilities right now, and we would like to move forward in a manner that keeps everyone.
They've got all the video, every inch of it. I got to tell you, there are some difficulties that they're going to be presented with, because somehow this guy, and they believe it to be a guy, got away. In other words, we're coming up on 24 hours now, more than 24 hours, and they don't have them yet. And I've spoken to sources that lived in that area, and they said, you got US 15 right there, and it's very, very easy to run off, to head to the mountains, to head to the desert, to head to Wyoming, to head to Vegas. So it's disappointing. They got distracted. They had two wrong suspects. Don't forget, they had two people in custody yesterday. We were live on the air together. The first one, they thought they had him. They let that gentleman go, the older gentleman who I guess had jumped down. I mean, it's a natural reaction, right? You hear a gunshot. And then they went after somebody else who they also released, Kash Patel announcing that yesterday after we had gotten off the air. I mean, when I left you yesterday, they thought they had the suspect in custody. They did not. And that has a lot of people saying that they believe that this was a professional job, that this is somebody who really, really knew what he was doing. It is not hard, I am told, for a sniper to have a direct shot, one bullet, 200 yards away. But the aftermath, that's the hard part. In other words, this is suspected to have happened from the roof. We have seen some video of the shooter likely on the roof. How did he get away? Here is, let me just share with you some of the pictures that have been released by the FBI. They've identified the shooter here in these photos. I'm going to show you another right here, a little bit closer up if you can make that out. You know, it's difficult. I get it. It's difficult to make out, but they are asking for assistance. They have asked if anybody knows this person to call 1-800, call FBI, and then digital media tips. You can see on the FBI X feed, go there. If for some reason you recognize this person, that's exactly what you need to do. Well, people on Twitter are doing a lot of sleuthing, and I'm going to get to that right now because they've come up with some ideas. Here we have the FBI also offering a $100,000 reward. This is a big deal. I got to tell you, this guy, I mean, he was like Martin Luther King, okay? He was like Martin Luther King for a young generation of conservatives. And the parallels are really, really striking. He had become so big, just a supernova. Every kid in America, they knew him. A lot of them loved him. And when you look at the data, for example, on the voter rolls, you look at the data, you guys, and what did we see? New voter registrations, overwhelmingly Republican. Kids were all going Republican, one after another. Here's the audio from the dispatch. This is from the security at the university there in Utah. I want to share with you the description that they gave authorities on who to look for. Brand new coming into us now. Let's listen.
Is going to be wearing all black, black long gun, black tactical helmet, a black mask, possibly wearing a tactical vest and jeans.
All dressed in black. When I go back to this, it doesn't look as though, I mean, it looks like jeans, but you know, it's very, very hard to tell in these photos. So again, a black top certainly looks like jeans, black hat, likely a mask could have been put on after the fact. But here's what I'm going to tell you. This is where it's starting to get rather interesting. I mean, a lot of people are saying, hey, how could this have happened? Apparently he used a bolt, which requires a better level of sophistication because you're going to have to get it in one shot. Nonetheless, 200 yards, understandable. Where the complicating factor comes in is just exactly how would you get away? Right? This had to have been so well premeditated. And this is where people are starting to say, and I've talked to different sources on this, that there is the idea that this could have been somebody who was a professional. Now, when you think about who the professional is, I realize this is all speculation, and I'm going to qualify that, okay? As we start this, and we're going to play this game because we don't know what's going on, and it's difficult in a live breaking situation like this. If you're watching this tomorrow or the next day and we've already caught the shooter, forgive me, but this is where we are right now, and there's a lot of different theories that are being advanced online, including, for example, just the idea of who would want Charlie dead, and we're going to go through that because there's unfortunately a lot of groups, and that's a big sort of statement on our country right now. Here you're looking at a drone video, a picture of some drone video that showed how far apart the building was where the shooter was shooting from, the 200 yards. It struck him dead with one single bullet into the neck. It is my understanding it was a local hospital, maybe about, 7-10 minutes away, not too far. But they were not able to stop the bleeding. I mean, when you hit someone in the artery like that, they just weren't able to do it in time. Here's the story in the Wall Street Journal I'm sharing with you. This is considered controversial, and I'm going to qualify this by saying sometimes, the most obvious explanation is not the explanation, and then again, sometimes it is. So this could be a red herring, but the ammunition in the Kirk shooting was engraved with transgender and anti-fascist ideology, according to sources. So the report out there being that there was some kind of anti-fascist message on there, transgender message on the bullet that shot him dead. And it was coming just as he was talking about violence and shootings and transgenders. There's an account on Twitter and again, I'm going to caution you all in just saying that this is tremendous speculation, and there are some reports out there already going down this path. None of this has been confirmed, but people are looking at whether or not there was somebody in the Utah area that had a very suspicious account, music project account, talking about death to American scum, and one of the songs was actually Charlie Kirk, dead at 31. I believe another one was Charlie Kirk, not enough. So we don't know as this is connected, but when you see the picture of the person that had the music account and you compare and contrast it to the picture that was released by the FBI, look, I'll just tell you, we don't know. We don't know. I mean, it's difficult to assess. I've looked at the pictures, and in my estimation, out of, look, for goodness sakes, I mean, we have to be careful, right? In a situation like this, you run the risk that this is an innocent person who's making some gross music, but is not actually the person that did this, right? So you want to be careful. I'm not showing the picture, but I'm going to tell you I've seen it, and I'm going to tell you there is a resemblance, but that's as much as we know. So these are such grainy photos, it's very, very hard to make out. But in terms of who would want him dead, again, going back to what the Wall Street Journal is reporting, going back to what Twitter's reporting, this particular musician is a trans musician, and so thus it gels up with some of this, he was, Charlie Kirk not being tolerant of trans, etc. I wouldn't say that's the whole story. I think that it's a little bit more nuanced, but unfortunately things get lost in translation. If you sit down and you'll watch a debate with Charlie, and I encourage you guys to do that. I was watching some with my daughter last night. I encourage you to do that. What you're going to see is this guy could debate with such class and such kindness. And when you had a liberal that was really digging themselves in a hole, he was so Socratic in his method too. It was very, very clever. He'd help him out. He'd even help him out. I mean, he did a great job on all of that. So this is one of the theories that is being advanced right now. But again, you got to think about who are the groups that might have want him dead. I don't know how to sugarcoat this, but there's been a rise in extremism and the Antifa movement, and you know this. Charlie knew this. Charlie absolutely knew this. He was one of the first people to, in fact, point it out. He pointed it out to me. He was attacked, surrounded by a group of about 50 Antifa people. He and Candace Owens, just having breakfast in Philadelphia one morning. Yeah, they're having breakfast. Someone that was with Antifa was in there, saw it, phoned in a whole bunch of friends. They walk out of that restaurant and they were surrounded. And I asked him about it. This is 2018, you guys. Charlie Kirk talking with me, and he was warning. He was warning against the very thing that eventually happened to him.
Why do you think this is happening right now? What's gone on in our society that is contributing to this somewhat violent, very, very aggressive streak among some members of the left?
Yeah, and this is a trend. You can see it. This is a pattern now. They did this to Kirsten Nielsen. They did this to Sarah Huckabee Sanders. You remember Steve Scalise got shot last summer. So this is a growing trend against conservatives and outward supporters of the president. I have to attribute it to two main things. First and foremost, the leaders of the Democrat Party do not denounce this sort of behavior. In fact they condone it and they encourage it. Exactly. You had Maxine Waters say, if you see them in a department store, you see them in a restaurant, which we were, find them, create a scene. They followed her instructions to a T. And the second thing is these protesters and these radicals on the left, they have not been able to reconcile that this president is succeeding. They hate Trump more than they love America. They hate this president so much because they thought they were going to have the fundamental transformation of America with the election of Hillary Clinton, and they still cannot reconcile that he's succeeding, cutting taxes, growing the economy, fighting terror effectively, and he wants to go after allies of the president, which is, of course, Candace and I are two of those.
It just bothers me that it's so much intimidation that they're using and that no Democrats
would speak out on this, right? So Charlie was all over this. In 2018, okay, I told you I've known him a long time. He used to look so young, right? He was like a kid. I was like, who is this kid? He's fantastic. Let's put him on. I think at some point, before I left Fox, we had him on twice a week. I couldn't get enough of Charlie Kirk because he always thought about things in a new and innovative way. He always made you stop and think. I told you guys this yesterday. You get a lot of political pundits out there, and they get their talking points A, B, C, and D. Charlie would take it to X, Y, Z, and everything in between. I mean, just such a gifted thought leader and communicator. But here's what he's saying, right back in 2018 after he's been attacked. And again, he was a brave guy, because you know what? He's been through it all, and he's had all kinds of threats. And he goes out to those campuses anyway, one after another, risking his life. In fact, it ended his life because he wanted to make a difference. And boy, he did. So I want to show you Chris Murphy, senator from Connecticut. I want to show you what they were talking about on CNN, Dan Goldman. This is all quite recently, the representative from New York. And you tell me if this is not fanning the flames, just like Charlie predicted.
Like we're in a war right now to save this country, and so you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
Some in the sort of far right, podcasting sphere who make money off this kind of rhetoric. They're talking about war. That there's a war targeting conservatives.
That is incredibly dangerous. And I hope these far-right podcasters come to their senses and recognize that this is not war.
Like we're in a war right now to save this country, and so you have to be willing.
Okay. Your words, not ours. Your words. In fact, if we want to talk about some violent words, I do believe that Tim Cook, just about a week ago, Tim Cook, forgive me, Tim Cook, we thank you for your $600 billion that you're investing in Apple. Apple's on my mind. My son really wants one of those new Apple iPhones, the orange one. Anyway, they're out tomorrow rather. Timmy Waltz, Tampon Tim, as he's better known, was out there just a week ago, right? Out there saying, terrible things, wishing that the rumor about Donald Trump that he had maybe died was actually true. And let's not forget the history of this. All right, I want to take you back to what we have had to listen to over and over and over again. It is disgusting.
Want to be there.
Yeah, and it's
about forcing them to be there.
When you are mentally ill, you have a hard time knowing that you are mentally ill. But also, people like Charlie Kirk, they've been looking for opportunities to make this some sort of like reciprocal George Floyd situation. And that's the part that I think he's almost giving away the game. And it's sad to see a lot of people going along with it.
Let me just say a couple of things. One is, what happened to that young woman was horrible. And it's everybody's nightmare. If you're in any public space, subway, whatever, that something bad is going to happen to you or somebody you care about. So it does strike a chord. We don't know why that man did what he did. And for Charlie Kirk to say, we know he did it because she's white, when there's no evidence of that, it's just pure race mongering, hate mongering. It's wrong.
Not exactly what he said. But I think Charlie did point out the obvious, which was, if the tables were turned and that had actually been somebody who was, say, a black man being attacked by a white man or a white woman, well, it would be a very different story now, right? You're not allowed to say that? I'm sorry, nobody was covering this until Charlie picked it up and others, like myself and others. We were all putting it out on X. And then finally it got some traction and the media was mad. Literally mad. That little guy, it was a chubby little guy over with no hair on CNN. It was Mr. Potato Head or something that Sean Hannity used to call him. He got fired. Then they brought him back, and I'm wondering if they should just fire him again. He was going on and on, right, about how this was just a kind of a made-up story by the MAGA cult movement. And I'm sorry, a young woman was killed. And that's a made-up story to you guys? So in terms of who would have wanted him gone, you can think about extremists within, we've had some issues, right? with trans shooters. There was another one actually today, I believe, out in Colorado. I don't think you can ignore the elephant in the room. We're a news show here. I realize that's sensitive, but we have to be able to talk about those things. So that's one group. There's the Antifa group. There's all of these groups that have been sort of ginned up, right, and primed for something, given so much of the hate that we've been hearing from the Democrat Party. So there's also the idea, dare we say, that could it have been some kind of extremist left-wing group that was concerned that Charlie was having such traction with young people, and that basically you were going to flip a generation. I mean, already most of the country is conservative. And by the way, more people are looking at joining the Conservative Party. I've been looking on Twitter and people are saying, hey, you know what I did yesterday? I just registered. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I registered as a Republican. Why? Because this is disgusting. This is wrong. We can't stand for that. You're going to hear more of that, I suspect, in the coming days. And we're going to bring those stories to you. But the reality is he had a lot of enemies. He had Hamas as an enemy. All right? I mean, he's been very, very pro-Israel and very anti-Palestine, and that is a trigger point. You know that, I know that. Could Iran have done something? Hamas in some way? Are they coordinated? BLM is another possibility that's been discussed and talked about. Don't forget, Charlie was all over that horrible tragedy, all over it in Charlotte, as, you know what, a good journalist should be. Okay, you don't ignore a story just because the woman's the victim that's blonde and blue-eyed. No. She's absolutely a victim. And what happened to her should never have happened to anyone. And that was actually our story yesterday. Our whole show was about that. Until I got the news, and I'm hearing from friends, and I knew he was in surgery, and they said he's not going to make it. We don't think he's going to make it. And I thought, no. And then we were live together on the air as the president told us. His son, actually, Don Jr., told him he had to break the news to his dad. Don Jr. and he were very, very close. They spoke regularly, almost every day. Anyway, here's Charlie talking about that Charlotte horror, and you wonder if, I mean, this is really down the rabbit hole, but you know what? Hey, if Rachel Maddow can do this rabbit hole, so can Trish Regan, right? Look, I don't believe this necessarily to be the case. I think it's probably going to be the simplest explanation, which gets back to what the Wall Street Journal was reporting. But nonetheless, he had a lot of enemies, including BLM. Okay, including BLM, and one of their top Instagram posts was very negative on him after this had all happened. I know that there's been some terrible, terrible stuff on TikTok. TikTok has now started to take that down. Finally, I mean, for goodness sakes, I post about the Clinton Global Foundation and how much money it makes, I get taken down. But no. All these kids are going on saying terrible, terrible things about how happy they are that Charlie's gone and they live forever on TikTok. Finally, they start to take them down. Here's Charlie talking about that horrific event and firing back at CNN because the way it went after him.
No one mentioned the word race, white, black, or anything except him.
Okay, so there's a lot there. First of all, when Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota, was asked repeatedly by the media, was there racial animus involved in Derek Chauvin's actions against George Floyd? He said no, and they dodged the question. Do you know that there is no evidence that Derek Chauvin acted racially? If you think Derek Chauvin acted racially, then you're a racist and parting racial type fantasies and mythologies into a situation of which it does not exist. And by the way, just if you're taking notes, Media Matters, George Floyd overdosed, okay? You can write that down, take it to the bank. In fact, we have Ben Shapiro coming up next segment, of which I'm going to have him remind us of all the facts. Anyway, that's not what this is even about. Here is the tweet that I sent out. Quote, if a random white person simply walked up to and stabbed a nice law-abiding black person for no reason, it would be an apocalyptically huge national story used to impose national sweeping political changes on the whole country. Of course this is true. Everybody knows this is true. Our media thirsts for stories like this. I want you to imagine.
So yeah, he had a lot of enemies. Why? Because he was a powerful communicator and because the kids loved him. He just did his first tour of Asia. This was like last week. I was like, this is cool. He was over in South Korea. He actually went over to Tokyo and Japan. Just watch him here in South Korea for a moment.
Okay, everybody, I'm here in Seoul, South Korea. As you can see, everyone, they have these like inflatable cushy chairs. Everyone is reading. This would last about 35 seconds in most American cities. You can have nice stuff. Crime is a choice. We shouldn't put up with it. South Korea doesn't. We shouldn't either.
Okay. So we've got the manhunt underway. He leaves behind a beautiful, beautiful young family. 2 little kids who will never get to know their dad except on the internet. And there are lots of questions as to who could have done this. Why would they have done this? Is there any chance that somebody gets framed in this? I mean, look, I'm upset that it's 5:12 on the East Coast the next day and we still don't have enough information. I'm relieved that they've got the tape, okay? But where did this guy go? We've got another horrible report right now, reports of shots being fired at University of Massachusetts in Boston. SWAT teams rushing to the hall of a residence as terrified students sprint from the scene. So it's the second shooting today, okay? So this is third. My friend assassinated. Your friend assassinated. I'm telling you, Charlie was everybody's friend, okay? Whether you knew him or not, he was your friend. Benny Johnson told a great story. You know what happened when Benny lost his home and all his belongings in a fire during some of the BLM movement stuff in Washington, D.C.? Charlie said, come down and stay at my condo in Florida. He had a little baby, a brand new baby, and Charlie said, just come on down. So he stayed, and he said it's thanks to Charlie that they were able to relocate to Florida. Way better than D.C., right? And get out of the dangerous neighborhood and situation. And he credits Charlie with making that happen. A really terrific guy who had a whole life in front of him. But I'll tell you, as we speculate about what's going on, I'll tell you, Marco Rubio is not ruling out the possibility of some kind of foreign intervention. I mean, why would it be foreign intervention? Look, he was over in Asia. It was his first Asia trip. He was speaking in South Korea. Did North Korea have some reason to want him gone? What about China? I mean, he went over to Tokyo in Japan. I think that everything is on the table right now. Again, it may just be the most obvious. You may have, and again, the internet sleuths are hard at work at this, and I want to be very cautious and very careful, okay? Because we don't want to indict anyone with anything. But they're doing some matchups, and, the software is saying there's a 70% chance of match. I think it's very difficult, though, given how grainy those pictures are. The authorities are doing better things. I will tell you this, Marco Rubio also knew him well and felt terrible, devastated, as all of us did. Marco Rubio is now refusing visas to anyone overseas that celebrated the death, and we have a record of it on social media, of one Charlie Kirk. Watch.
Well, Charlie's someone I've gotten to know personally, and it was just heartbreaking to see. It's both stunning and outrageous at the same time. Obviously, I have confidence in our investigators who are on the ground. The FBI is the best investigative unit in the world. I spoke to the governor numerous times yesterday in the midst of this, and they're also involved with their state police there. And so I think now we just need to let the investigators do their work. And we know 2 things for certain, and that is that a great young man is dead and the family's been shattered, and that there's no place for this in America. We all know that. All the words are out there, but it's true, not just outrageous, it's frightening.
Yeah. It is frightening. You know what's really frightening too? Those kids on TikTok. Kids in the local community. And I get this, because I get kids and I hear about it. And they said to me, my kids, Mom, can you believe that anybody would condone this? And I said, I can't. And if we're at a place right now as a nation where some on the left are so strident and so twisted that they would ever condone someone who just wants to go out and speak and have honest debate in a nonviolent way, then we are in a very dangerous spot. And you know what? We are. That's where we are, ladies and gentlemen, in a very, very dangerous spot right now. Donald Trump coming out moments ago saying he has spoken with Erica. Erica is Charlie's wife, and that he does have some indications of what may have been the killer's motive here, and that the manhunt's continuing, but that we have made tremendous progress. He did say, I'm going to let you know about that later. So they're not going to put too much out there right now. Erica, naturally, is absolutely, positively devastated, as you can well imagine. Just a young couple in the beginning of their great lives together, and to have something like this happen because some maniac has no respect for human life and no respect for honest intellectual debate. It's a disgusting human being. And any of these people overseas that want to get visas to come to school here in the United States of America, thank you very much. If you're celebrating this, guess what? You're not getting a visa. Not happening. Marco Rubio said so. And he's backed up here by the Deputy Secretary of State, writing, quote, in light of yesterday's horrific assassination of a leading political figure, I want to underscore that foreigners who glorify violence and hatred are not welcome visitors in our country. I have been disgusted to see some of the social media praising, rationalizing, or making light of the event, and have directed our consular officials to take appropriate action. Please feel free to bring such comments by foreigners to my attention at the State Department, and we can protect the American people, which is what your government is supposed to do, okay? This is not okay. It's like, honestly, he feels like a Martin Luther King, right? For a generation of young people. And I'm going to tell you, he had it, handsome guy, super smart, tall, beautiful wife, adorable kids, and an ability to communicate in a way that is really unrivaled. I've talked about, Donald Trump's je ne sais quoi, and he's got a great sense of humor, and, he can be self-deprecating, he can be very serious. I kind of wonder if Charlie Kirk could have been president. He was too young, 31. But next go around, maybe after Vance and he had become very good friends. Charlie had star power. That doesn't come along that often, okay? Somebody was really threatened by that. People at home. I know we're talking about the State Department not allowing people at home. But I would just say, the media has some responsibility in this too. MSNBC firing a key commentator on their network, this liberal that I know. And I'll tell you, 12 years ago, I used to work with at Bloomberg Television, and he seemed sane enough then. What happened to people? This TDS thing is totally real. People that, I considered friends. Of course, I went to Fox, and they still talked to me for a while. But once I, said, I think Donald Trump's pretty good, I read his tax plan. I think he's going to do good for the economy. I think he's going to do for national security. Blah, blah, blah. I was persona non grata, right? I lost a lot of friends. That's okay. I don't need that many friends. I have my family and my close friends, and I'm just fine. But this guy said some really heinous stuff on the air. As we're learning, the guy got shot. It's for goodness sakes, if you people lost all decorum, all sense of human decency, clearly he had, let me play you, what Matthew Dowd, apparently the boyfriend of one Maria Shriver, the Candy Clan, had to say. Watch.
But following up with what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions.
You get that? So he's trying to say basically the guy deserved it. It wasn't hate speech, for goodness sakes. I mean, if you listen to them, but they always take everything they can, absolutely everything out of context. And when you do that, you know what? Things get lost, okay? You got to it's like, remember Charlottesville? That whole thing got totally taken out of context. And, they sliced and diced things, and it was all wrong. It was all wrong. I'm looking at your comments here. Guys, I gotta tell you, it's a rough week, and I want to thank you for being patient with me. I think there were a lot of tears yesterday, but what are you gonna do? You find out a friend of yours has died, a colleague. We both work with Salem Media. It's a tough moment. Anyway, this is MSNBC. MSNBC. Statement from MSNBC President Rebecca Cutler regarding those comments made by one Matthew Dowd during our breaking news coverage of the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Matthew Dowd made comments that were inappropriate, insensitive, and unacceptable. We apologize for his statements, as has he. There is no place for violence in America, political or otherwise. Rebecca, I'm sorry, it's not enough. It's just not enough, okay? That wasn't enough. I think you sent that out. Well, there we go, 7 o'clock last night. By 8 o'clock or so, the guy was gone. He was fired. I tweeted out, it's not enough, MSNBC. It's not enough. Yeah, they have a hand in what has happened. I don't want this to happen anymore. I want us, if nothing else, for Charlie's legacy, to stand strong and to embrace debate, embrace intellectual curiosity and diversity, and let's try to solve things together. So they sent that out. I mean, she's trying to cover her own behind. She's the new head of MSNBC, which is soon to be Ms. Now. And she's struggling, right? Because Rebecca is in a very, very tough spot. She's got basically a network that makes absolutely no money at all, and they're being spun off in like 10 weeks' time, which means shareholders are now going to be looking more closely at them, which means, I don't know, maybe you're not going to be able to pay Rachel Maddow $25 million for one show a week. And it means you might actually have to have some better ratings. And maybe you can discover a sensitivity chip in there someplace. I think you need to get rid of this lady first, though.
The permission structure for violence. You've got polls about political violence. Democrats don't think it's a good idea. Only Republicans, only people inclined to consume conservative media are now, I think, upward of 50% say that if necessary, violence is okay. You've only got the conduct on one of the two sides.
You're kidding me, right? You're kidding me. No. I think I know where the rhetoric is coming from. And I think you do too. We have only to look at this little compilation I put together, about 30, 40 seconds of the left doing its work.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yeah. I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
I'm sorry. You don't think that adds up over time? You don't think that you're radicalizing some people? I mean, they talked about Charlie radicalizing people. Charlie's just out there saying, hey, believe in God. Get married. Have kids. Start a family. Be part of your community. Love your neighbor. I mean, wow. He's a great guy. Just a really, 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 really great guy. A total superstar. And I look at what's happening at this moment in time. shots fired at UMass. Somebody sent me something earlier just as I was coming onto the air. Did you guys see in the New York Post? In the New York Post, suspect dead, 2 students injured after shooting in a Colorado high school. I mean, my gosh, what is going on? We're gonna get more information, okay? We're gonna get more information. And, Donald Trump said the other day, if we have mental health issues, you know what? We're going to have to open the institutions again, because we used to have institutions for these people that are in unfortunate positions, okay, in life. And you can't let them out 14 times so that they can get possessed by something in their schizophrenic moment and kill a young woman who's working her 3rd job just to make ends meet, gets off her pizza shift, gets on the train, and her life is ended as 5 people stand by and do nothing. I mean, that one, I couldn't believe. I couldn't believe, but you know what? Charlie warned of it. Charlie warned of it again back in 2018. I had him on my show a bunch, like lots and lots and lots, but I remember when he was attacked alongside Candace Owens in Philadelphia.
Why do you think this is happening right now? What's gone on in our society that is contributing to this somewhat violent, very, very aggressive streak among some members of the left?
Yeah, and this is a trend. You can see it. This is a pattern now. I mean, they did this to Kirsten Nielsen. They did this to Sarah Huckabee Sanders. You remember Steve Scalise got shot last summer. So this is a growing trend against conservatives and outward supporters of the president. I have to attribute it to 2 main things. First and foremost, the leaders of the Democrat Party do not denounce this sort of behavior. In fact they condone it and they encourage it. Exactly. You have Maxine Waters say, if you see them in a department store, you see them in a restaurant, which we were, find them, create a scene. They followed her instructions to a T. And the second thing is these protesters and these radicals on the left, they have not been able to reconcile that this president is succeeding. They hate Trump more than they love America. They hate this president so much because they thought they were going to have the fundamental transformation of America with the election of Hillary Clinton, and they still cannot reconcile that he's succeeding, cutting taxes, growing the economy, fighting terror effectively, and he wants to go after allies of the president, which is, of course, Candace and I are 2 of those.
It just bothers me that it's so much intimidation that they're using and that no Democrats
are calling any of them out. Oh, thank you. I'm looking at the outpouring. I mean, I feel like we're living through this, right, together here. I've told you before, we're on the front lines of history right here on this show, Vented Voice. Thank you so much. Appreciate the generosity. You know what? Of course. Thank you for what I'm doing. I mean, of course. How could I not? He was a friend. He was a colleague. He was a father. He was a husband. It's just, it's devastating. All of it. All of it. All of it. All of it. I think that, in times like this, we need very much so to double down on what's right, because we're right, right? When they're trying to take you out in the street, when they're gunning you down, you know you're right. You're hitting a chord. You're resonating in ways that they simply do not like, do not want. They tried to take Donald Trump out twice. They got Charlie Kirk. Gary's metal detecting, good to see you here today. Don Baca, good to see you. David, good to see you. Let me see what Gary has to say. I don't want to lose my voice again. I tell you, I was up until about 2 a.m, which is very late for me because my kids do athletics and they had to be at athletics at 5 a.m. So it was rough. But anyway, and one of my kids was up with me because she really loved Charlie. I used to say to her, I'm like, honey, I'm going to have to get you an internship at Turning Point. I mean, unless you want to work for me, maybe I can send you out onto college campuses. She's a heck of a debater. But I think she learned it from him. She told me, Mom, sometimes I'm a little, she's like, I would be a little embarrassed by you, right? Because she's got this conservative mother. And I kind of like automatically rejected whatever you said and you told me. And then I started watching Charlie. And now she's more conservative than me. He was a shining light in the world. David Longo, you are right. He certainly was. I can't believe that he's gone. Don Backer writing, he doesn't think it was a professional or a sniper because the shot was from roughly 150 yards. I've heard 200. Yeah, I know that that's easy, okay? Don't get me wrong. Where it comes in that he may have been a professional, Don, is because people are like, how the heck did he get out like that? Like, how did that happen? That's what's peculiar to people. Like, maybe it wasn't that hard a shot, but the fact that he escaped and is undetected, that's what's messed up. That they got two wrong people. That's what makes it really weird. You know, we got to stay strong, right? Again, if you see me looking off camera, it's because I'm reading everything that you're saying, and I'm trying to get your comments in. Jody, she says, I appreciate your kind words for our friend Charlie Kirk. He was amazing. We have some unfriendly people here too as well, and I would just say, you know what? This is not the time, this is not the place, and this is not the platform. If you don't have the decency to honor someone's memory, we don't want you on the channel. This is a good place where we're fair and we respect human life. And if you don't, leave. Ingrid, you're welcome. All of you, you're welcome. There's some beautiful, beautiful comments, and peace of my mind, thank you for all you do. One of my sort of, people that's been here from the very, very start. Listen, Charlie is going to go down in history as one of the greatest, as a leader, as somebody who inspired a movement. He had so much more to do, believe me. And there was no one better to do it. But like Martin Luther King is remembered, Charlie Kirk will be remembered. His wife will be remembered. Well, she's going to live a long time, but she will remember him for all his greatness and what her husband was trying to do. And I hope those little kids know the sacrifice their dad made to help make this world a better place. We're going to be better. We're already better. We're going to keep this going in his honor. I want you to see this. Let's watch it together. Charlie Kirk, rest in peace, my friend. He helped create a movement, and it will not be stopped. Charlie's legacy lives on. We're going to keep it going, you guys. I know I don't have as many young people following me. I'm in the more middle-aged crowd, but you know what? That's okay. We have kids to teach and kids to inspire. And we're going to keep doing that every single day. Charlie, we love you. We love what you created. Rest in peace, my friend. See you guys back here tomorrow.